Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and to another tag video. Yes, and this time it's a tag that I was actually tagged in recently. How about that? And I'm in a sort of snarky mood today because of, reasons. And this tag, it's just the right tag for today. And that's the Anti TBR tag created by Nicole from Nicole and Her Books. And I was tagged, of course, by Steve Donahue. I will leave links to their videos down below. And as always, you know the drill. There will be strange lighting in this video because I have to look at the screen for the questions and then everything will be lit up. So let's get going. The first question is a popular book everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. And if you're following my channel, my answer is probably not a surprise. That is Hilary Mantel, the Something and the Light, The Mirror and the Light. I can't even remember the title. The third book in her Cromwell series. And I talked about this in previous videos. It's just not for me. I read the first part, or I should probably rather say I struggled through the first book of this series. And after that, I decided no. And everybody is gushing about The Mirror and the Light and how disappointed they are that the book was longlisted for the Booker Prize but didn't even make the shortlist. It's just not for me. It bores me. And if you have watched, I think the last tag I did about DNFing, which ties in nicely with this one. One of the main reasons that I wouldn't pick up a book or DNF a book is when I'm bored. And this series just bores me. And I know it's me, it's not the books, but there you go. The Mirror and the Light is one of those books that I will not pick up, even if you pay me. Question number 2, a classic book or author that you don't have any interest in reading. Here goes the light again and off again. And I have to say, it's some of these authors, classic authors like Mark Twain, Ernest Hemingway, Jack London. No. This male dude bro kind of story, adventures, it just bores me. I don't know whether you've watched this movie. I think it's probably 3 or 4 years ago, or maybe even 5 years, The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio, and he won an Oscar even, I think. Or somebody won an Oscar with this movie. Set in the 1970s, a bear hunter who gets injured and betrayed by his hunting party, and then he takes revenge or something. I don't know, because I haven't watched the movie. I have no interest whatsoever watching movies like that or reading books like that. And Ernest Hemingway, I think, is overrated as a writer. I had to suffer through a couple of his books in high school. The shorter ones. No, it's just not for me. I'm sorry about that. Question number 3, an author whose books you have no interest in reading, and 3.2, a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading, and you can combine these two answers or answer them separately. Well, first I want to talk about problematic authors because I don't really use that word because it often is about the author and not about the book. So I will just answer the question, the first half of this question, an author you have no interest in reading, and I have 2, and that's V.E. Schwab and Stephanie Meyer. V.E. Schwab, of course, is the author's name, Victoria Schwab, when she writes for adults. I'm not reading YA anyway, so Stephanie Meyer and her Twilight thingy, that's no interest. And V.E. Schwab, I read one of her adult fantasy books, Vicious, and I thought it was really bad. I know it's a beloved book. but I thought it was bad. The story was just bad. The plot is, was sort of mingled together, jumbled together, hanging together by plot holes. The characters were completely unbelievable to me in the sense of what, their motivations were. And no. So V. Schwab, even her adult books, is not an author that I will read ever again. And Stephanie Meyer, or Myers, is it Meyer or Myers? I have to look that up. Stephanie Meyer. Sorry, like I said, snarky mood. No interest whatsoever reading any of those two authors' books. Question number 4. An author you have read a couple of books from and have decided their book is not or are not for you. There are a couple of authors who would qualify, so I'm just going with the most recent decision not to bother anymore, and that is Ann Patchett. I so wanted to love her books because she is such a beloved author, a lauded author, and the premise of the books often really spoke to me. So I read Bel Canto, about the story set in some South American embassy, and there's a terrorist attack, you would call it in now 2020 speak. So there's this opera singer and a party, and then the terrorists come in and they take everybody hostage. I read, what else did I read? I can't even, you see, I can't even remember the titles. A State of Wonder, about a science woman who goes to South America to find out what went wrong with the expedition there. And the last book I read by Ann Patchett, and it will really be the last book I've read by her, was Dutch House, her most recent publication, I think this year or last year. About two siblings, a boy and a girl, in a very wealthy family, but then the father marries a second wife and they are expelled from the house. And then, I don't know, it's just not for me. I feel the plots are often really ridiculous. There are too many coincidences that are necessary for the story that are very unbelievable. I don't engage with the characters. Yeah, I'm sorry, people. I can't help it. But Ann Patchett is just, I decided after Dutch House, who a lot of people love, by the way, and good for them. But I decided that she is just not for me. On with the snark. Let's see here. That's the light goes on. Question number 5. A genre you have no interest in, or a genre you tried to get into and couldn't. If you're following my channel, you know that the genre that I really just don't get is horror. And I explained that I get scared when I watch horror movies. So that's fine, and I love watching horror movies, but books, they just don't scare me. And if you don't have the scare elements, then what's the point in reading horror? So the horror genre is just not for me. And in addition, I would say anything that has vampires or zombies in them, because that is really boring. I feel I have the same with movies, zombie movies and vampire movies. There's a couple of exceptions with movies. I thought World War Z was a really, really good zombie movie. But most of the books are so formulaic with the vampire and or zombie. Yeah, that's a genre and a subgenre that's just not for me. There are exceptions, as like always, but in general, I'm not going to read any more horror unless you can give me a recommendation that you think this is really different from all the other horror books. I might try it, but otherwise, The horror genre is not for me. On to question number 6. A book you have bought but will never read. This can be a book you have unhauled or returned to the library unread. I can only go with DNFs, because it's not that I have books on my shelf that I have bought and not started reading and decided then already that I will never read them. That's not how it works with me. I at least give the book a try. And the last book I DNF'd, and I mentioned that also in the other tag, the DNF tag, is a book by Joyce Carol Oates, Blonde, published in 2000, about Marilyn Monroe. And Joyce Carol Oates is such a prolific author that it's not a surprise that her books are a hit and miss for me. Some books I really love. American Martyr, I thought, was an excellent book. The Hazards of Time Travel was an excellent book. But there are also a lot of misses, and Blonde was a definite miss. It's a junkster of a book trying to fictionalize Marilyn Monroe's life, and I just felt that Joyce Carol Oates failed. The way she approached Marilyn Monroe just didn't work for me. This idea, she wanted too much maybe in the book, trying to show Marilyn Monroe as the actress who acts being Marilyn Monroe, and then there were these cliche explanations why Marilyn Monroe became the way she became. So no, that was a book that I DNF'd. I think it's quite big, so it's more than 700 pages, and I read about 150, and then I decided this is not for me. So if you want to count that, because I bought the book, and then I DNF'd it. Okay, 2 more questions to go. Number 7, a series you have no interest in reading, or a series you started and have DNF'd. Okay, this is probably everybody's going to hate me now, but that's Elena Ferrante's Neapolitan series, starting with A Brilliant Friend. I read A Brilliant Friend and I didn't like it. I thought it was not a good book. I liked bits and pieces of, especially the sort of the scenery, the poverty that is shown. But the friendship of the 2 girls was completely cliched for me. I read another book by this author, Days of Abandonment, which I absolutely hated, about the woman scorned, another really cliched book. And yeah, I tried because everybody seems to love that book. I could have chosen A Brilliant Friend for the first question, but I read it, so it didn't quite fit that question. But I'm certainly not going to continue with this series, and I don't think I will read anything by Elena Ferrante ever again. It's just not, it doesn't interest me. I don't like the characterization of the people. I feel it's too many stereotypes in the characters that don't interest me enough to carry on. So here you go. Confession time. Elena Ferrante, I DNF'd the rest of the series. I'm not gonna carry on, and I probably will not read a book by her that she brings out after the series. Maybe I'll try a nonfiction book once, but not in a little while. Anyway, last question. Question number 8. A new release you have no interest in reading. Well, first of all, I have no interest in reading any of J.K. Rowling's new fantasy books. What did she bring out now? The Ichabod or something? Just not for me. I did enjoy some of the Harry Potter books, especially the first one I thought was a good book. The rest of the series, I'm not probably the right age group to read it and enjoy it. So anything that she puts out, speaking about problematic authors, by the way, but we're not going to get into that discussion here. But the kind of fantasy books she writes is just not for me. And the other kind of books that I will not pick up is celebrity autobiographies. The last ones is, I think, Miss Simpson wrote an autobiography. Matthew McConaughey wrote an autobiography. And I have to admit, it also goes for politicians. I'm probably one of the few people that was not completely charmed by Michelle Obama's autobiography, Becoming. I haven't even finished it yet. I put it aside to maybe pick up, and now Obama has a autobiography that just came out, I think this week, The Promised Land, and I will most certainly not read it. I think, yeah, politicians and celebrities are interesting in what they do as politicians or celebrities. I love watching movies with Matthew McConaughey. I think he's an interesting actor, but I'm just not interested reading about his life. And as for politicians, I'm much more interested in other people's point of view when they, about their work. So I haven't read Hillary Clinton's autobiography. I'm not interested in that. And I'm not going to read Obama's book. Are you still here? Have you unsubscribed yet? You probably will. I'm sorry about that. It's just not my cup of tea. Anyway, these were the 8 questions of the Anti TBR tag, and the only thing left for me to do is tag people. And I chose 4 people. I think they have this kind of snark that you need for this tag, and that's Sean from Sean the Book Maniac, of course, and then Shay from Hey It's Shay. If you're not familiar with her channel, please check her out. She has under 500 subscribers, and I think she deserves many, many more. She's really intelligent, engaging, charming, but sometimes snarky. I just love her videos. Robert from Bader Hordes, because he needs a reason to come back to BookTube more regularly, and maybe a snarky video will help. And Najwa from Najwa S, because if you are familiar with Najwa's channel, she's now posting more regularly again, but she is definitely the intelligent snark that I'm looking for on BookTube. Anyway, so this was the Anti TBR tag. If you're still watching and if you're still subscribed, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. Looking forward to your comments as always, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.